For years now, I've been wanting to make a fully playable RPG in Minecraft, and now after a few test versions, I think I finally have the skills to make it for real. I decided I wanted to create this series to document the progress of this project as I go along. I don't know how long it'll take or how far into it I'll get, but I'm going to have fun along the way. In the next episodes of this, we'll be making NPCs, weapons, monsters, dungeons, the whole lot, so I'm really excited for that. For today, we're going to be creating a starter city in the Plains biome. Let's get started. I started by pasting in this town hall design that I made prior to deciding I wanted to record. Don't worry, I have a bunch of recordings of me building everything else in this town, but there's a couple of these orange roofed buildings that I built beforehand. I then went around and decorated the outside with these rocks and plants, and I spent a lot of time trying to get the path design right and just the exterior design right, because this is going to be the blueprint that I use to decorate the entire rest of the town, so I needed to make sure that it looked really nice. Here I begin to make what is essentially the first custom tree that I've ever made in this game, so it takes a little bit of fiddling for me to find a design that I like, but in the end I think it turned out really well. I get a lot of experience making trees in this video, so in a future project I may come back and change this design if I feel like it's not up to par. Here I hop into a creative world and begin working on the second build that I want to import into this project. This is going to be a clock tower when it's finished. I lost a little bit of the footage for this one, so please excuse a couple jumpy cuts. I want to draw specific attention to these bell designs because I was really proud with how they came out in the end, with the kind of shadowy darkness behind the bells. With the clock tower done, I head back into the main world and begin to add in a bunch of small details that I had made before I started recording, including a fountain and another one of these orange roofed house, as well as the clock tower we just built. Without detailing, the plains biome can feel very empty, so I decide to add this giant boulder over here by the fountain to break up the emptiness a little bit. We continue work by adding in this blacksmith building, where players will be able to upgrade or make weaponry in the future. I begin to do a little bit of the fine detailing work, but most of this I save for later. My next thought was that I needed something to mark the edges of where the town will be, so I played around with a design for a guard tower. This didn't take me very long, and it's kind of simple because I'm going to copy and paste it a couple times. After putting this guard tower in, I felt that the area in the middle here was missing something, so I began work on one of my favorite parts of this build, the giant lake in the middle of the town. This took a lot of trial and error, but in the end, I think it came out really well. I especially really like this overhang that I'm building now. It adds a really nice organic feel to this whole area of the town. I then moved on to marking out some locations where buildings will eventually go with wool. This is so I can get a general idea of the layout. In this area, the upper area is going to be like a market area, and the lower area is going to be the residential area. Alright, now that I've finished up this market area, I thought it would be a good idea to give you all a tour of what it would look like from the player's perspective. And I think that this turned out really, really well. This took me a couple of days in real life to finish, so I'm glad that it came out the way it did. My main goal now is to focus on this area down here, which is going to be a residential district. And the player will probably not go into this area as much, but I still want it to look really nice. So I'm going to have a row of buildings over here, a row of buildings over there. Alright, so that's most of the residential district done. It's a little too orderly right now, so I may go back and world edit and move these around. And they might need one or two more buildings. But for now, I think that it's okay to move on to the next step and just kind of keep this in mind and maybe come back to this section later on. The next thing I did was just to replace all the purple wool I was using as a path marker with path. Alright, so there's still a lot of work left to do on these paths with detailing and things, but the basics are all down, and just that makes a huge difference to how the town looks. The next decision is whether or not we want a wall design. And I've been thinking about this for multiple days now, and I don't know yet. I may try to mess around with a wall design and see if I can find something that works. After a couple minutes, I came up with this wall design I liked, which mixed bushes with kind of collapsed walls. It really matched the path design that I decided to go for. So then after that, I just decided to put this wall up everywhere around the city that I thought worked. The walls in the new guard towers, I think, made a huge difference. It really, like, encircles the town and draws the eye to what is the town and what isn't, if that makes sense. So next up, I want to make a path down here to this lake, one up to there. But after that, it's mostly just like fine detail work along the paths and in this like empty space area. And I didn't really want to do anything with this stuff, but I felt that the wall coming down like this would look kind of weird. So I'm gonna have to fill it with something. At this point, I decided to go around and start marking out with wool the areas where I want littler details to go, like bushes, rocks, and then I decided this area down by the water I wanted to be a forest, so I started marking out areas for trees, and then building just a whole bunch of trees. I decided to go around and finish up all the paths and the sidings of the paths. It took a very long time, but in the end I think it was worth it. So with all that done, the town is really coming into its own, and the build is getting close to being completed. I was really proud of this weeping willow tree I made. I might need to fix it up a little bit, but for this video I'm done making trees because, oh my god, look at how many there are. And this is only like 10 or 12 designs, but still, that's way too many trees. One more thing I wanted to talk about is this right here. Now this is my stand-in for what is eventually going to be the fast travel point for this town. So players are going to be warping from places in the wilderness to right here, and this will look a lot nicer in the finished thing. This is just the stand-in. And then the next thing that they're most likely going to do, imagine they're coming back from an adventure and they have loot they want to sell. They're going to make their way over to here. And right now, because this path curves, they're going to be going along this area that currently doesn't have anything. So my idea is that we set up a little parkour thing here. Just something small, not difficult, but something that the players can, you know, this is not possible, but something the players can, like, as they're running back, do on their way over. And maybe they fail, they fall into, like, water or something and waste a couple seconds, but it's mostly just to have a bit of fun. You know, it's like a 10-second walk, so I'd rather them just be doing something, like, a little fun, and, you know, it'll feel good when you get the rhythm down and can get all the way and then jump over here. But I don't have any idea on what I want the platforms to be. Because they can't just be platforms, like, rising out of the ground. They have to be, like, some sort of structure that the townspeople built or something natural in the world. And I could just do, like, juts of rock, but I feel like with this here, there's just too much rock in one area. So if you have any ideas for a place here, let me know, and if there's a really good one, I'll add it to the world. But I'm gonna keep thinking on this, and then maybe my next video we'll set up that cool little parkour challenge. The biggest issue now is deciding what to do with this area of land. Now it's right between two lakes, so I can't turn it into a lake. I could maybe do a river down here. I don't know if that would look good though. It is the biggest empty structure within the walls now. There are smaller areas, which I will need to eventually fill, but they work for now until I have a good idea to fill it. But this area just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. So I haven't decided what I want here yet, but maybe I'll play around with a couple ideas and we'll see what I come up with. Okay, so I decided on what I wanted and quickly built it. I didn't want this to be a major walking and traffic point for the town. I considered something like an inn or a tavern, but I think I will eventually make that, but put it somewhere else. Maybe right there that I'm undecided on what to put. But back here in this corner, I wanted someplace that people don't really go anymore. Maybe one person who's lighting the candles, but for the most part, no one comes over to the statue. I think this build just being here helps to make it seem like the empty space here is intentional, just because it is a good backdrop to this build. And that about wraps up this build as we watch a before and after of different parts of the build. I have a lot of ideas for the next video, and I've already started on them, but for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.